Hello, everybody. Welcome to another lunar flow class. Today we'll be focusing a lot on the hips. It is officially Scorpio season, so for the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a lot more Scorpion themes around us, Scorpio themes. This is a water sign. We haven't been in a water sign since Cancer back in like June. So this is, we should expect to have a little bit more emotional intensity, be a little bit less like flighty and airy. Libra season is always so much fun, I think. So just with the increase in emotions, we store a lot of emotions in our hips. A lot of those, the feelings of like rejection or fear of rejection will show up in our psoas muscle group. And I know that a lot of people struggle with emotional things, and they also struggle with tight hips. So we're gonna dive into that. We're gonna do some good stretches, a little bit of movement, and just honor some of those Scorpion themes that we've got around us. It's kind of a gray, dreary day today. It's just perfect for a little bit of yummy hip action. So let's get started on our back. So everybody lay down. Leave a bend in your knees. And just bring your hands to your low belly. Close your eyes. And really focus on letting your body settle down to the floor, down to the mat. Imagine your bones becoming a little bit heavier, sinking downward, releasing downward, surrendering downward. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And then walk your feet all the way in so they touch. Open your legs into a triple diamond shape. Bottoms of your feet join. Knees open to the sides of the room. Bring your hands down to your hip creases. And just rest your palms down there. Scorpio, the sign rules the pelvis. It rules the reproductive organs, the groin. Which is just another reason that we are getting into our hips today. Some of the themes that Scorpio deals with is intimacy. And some psychologists say intimacy, the word, we always think of like sexual intimacy or intimacy within relationships that's like private. But the psychologist, I can't remember her name, broke it down that the intimacy really is just into me, see. So we can kind of drop the idea that intimacy is exclusively a sexual act, that it's reserved for our like intimate relationships, and start to adopt the idea that maybe being intimate with someone is just as simple as allowing them to see you. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. And point your knees back to the ceiling. Walk your feet to the edges of your mat. Let your knees fall together. Let your hands fall out by the sides. Let's turn our palms to face up towards the ceiling. Scorpio governs intimacy, governs trust, grief, and investigation into the truth. Trust, intimacy, and truth they can be really uncomfortable topics for most people. A lot of times it's just because sometimes we don't even know that part of ourselves. It's a lot of things that hold our attention on the outside world. Whether it's making sure your bills get paid or making sure that you're being safe, whether it's on the road or safe out amongst other people. Making sure we have groceries, making sure our laundry's done. There's a lot of things that we have to be aware of and do in order to maintain kind of the outside world that's around us. It's a lot easier to kind of shift past the inner work, the intimacy with yourself and knowing yourself, knowing your desires. When we dive into what it is that we really want, what we desire the strongest, we can start to see what the motivations for a lot of our actions and a lot of our belief systems are. Oftentimes when we think about what it is that we desire the deepest, like above everything else, this is beyond like material goods. It's beyond like that car that you want or what people to see you as. It's like your desire to be loved or your desire to be cared for. There can be a lot of fear around those deep beneath the surface longings. It can be scary to think about. What if I never get that? What if I get it and then lose that? What if I am met with failure in the pursuit of these things? What if I'm met with rejection from those that I love as I pursue these things that I really want? So deep down in there, along with your deep desires, there often is some energy of fear. That's where the vulnerability comes in. That's where the hard work comes in. And a lot of times that's why Scorpio gets the bad rap. These topics of trust and grief and intimacy and desire are all kind of touchier subjects than the lighter, airier funness of Libra. It can feel a little bit shocking to move from that airy fun sign into this deep sign of incredible depth, incredible vulnerability. Because here lies the power of allowing something to die, some part of us to die, so something new can be built. It's like the story of the phoenix that burns all the way down to ashes and soon grows into a bigger, more beautiful, more vibrant, more powerful and capable bird. It's scary to be in the unknown. It's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to be raw and open. But if we can witness our fear from the position of the observer, we can witness the depth from the position of the observer, then we see that it's not good or bad, it's not right or wrong, it simply is what it is. Let's move our arms into a T and drop your knees both down to the right side, keeping your feet wide on the mat. Shift back through center and drop your knees down to the left. Continue to lift and lower, lifting up through center, lowering to the opposite side. Point both knees back up to the ceiling. Walk your feet into hips distance and then pull your knees towards your heart. With your hands on your knees, move your knees open to the sides of the room and then circle them forward towards the top of your mat, bringing them back together at center, drawing them back towards your chest, and then making more circles in this pattern. Bringing some movement to the hips, starting to warm them up, to encourage some synovial fluid production, to kind of lubricate your joints. And let's change the direction of the circles. Pull both knees in towards your chest. Set your left foot down on the mat. Let's take a half happy baby with this right leg. Pull our right knee down beside our rib cage. Point the bottom of your right foot up towards the ceiling. You can stay just like this, or you can take your left leg out long if your hips are ready for that intensity. The intensity that comes with the hip stretches is really, I think it mirrors beautifully the intensity that comes with Scorpio season, with Scorpio placements in your chart. It can be a lot, it can be uncomfortable. It can cause you to react on a mental or emotional level. But the medicine here and with Scorpio themes is always letting go. It's always opting for the position of the observer and just watching what you're experiencing without judgment. Without right, without wrong, without good, without bad, without shoulds and shouldn'ts. And just truly, purely witnessing, because that, what you're witnessing is your truth. The labels are how you kind of try to make sense of it in your own mind. And we don't need the labels. We don't need to color our experiences with our own annotations. We can sit and observe them, then there's immense power in that. Let's bring our right foot down to the mat. Take your half happy baby on the left side. Left hand comes to left foot. Bring your left knee down beside your left rib cage. Point the bottom of your left foot up to the ceiling. Your hips are ready. You can take your right leg out long. Make sure your whole spine is as long as it can go. Pressing your tailbone down towards the ground by lengthening the spine up in your neck, by bringing a slight tuck in with your chin. Witness the intensity without getting emotional about it, without reasoning around it, without labeling it. And bring your left foot down to the floor. Keep lengthen your right leg, bring your right foot back. So both knees point up to the ceiling, both feet are connected with the mat. We'll bring our knees in towards our chest. And let's cross-set our legs, rock up to seated. And we'll move over our knees, coming to tabletop. And from table, we'll take a couple rounds of cat and cow. Just be aware of your spine as we're moving and breathing through these poses. Let's come back to a neutral spine. Point your right knee to the right side of the room. Take a couple big circles with your knee around your hip. Change directions. Take your right heel back behind you, stretch it long, and then drop your toes over to the left side of your yoga mat. Look around your left shoulder for your heel. Take your right foot out so it's in line with your left knee, and start to press back into your hips until you feel sensation in your inner right thigh. You can move all the way down towards a child's pose if you'd like, but really listen to how your hips are feeling and responding to this stretch. Let's move our hips back up so the left hip stacks on the left knee. Take your right heel back to the wall behind you. And then pull your knee towards your chest. We're gonna cross our right leg around our left leg. We'll open our feet towards the edges of the mat and then lower your hips down in between your heels. So if this doesn't feel good with your knees or if it's too much for your hips, just find an easy seat. You can also find a double pigeon where your right ankle stacked on your left knee. Just listen to your own body, do your best to honor. And then let's take our arms out into a T and cross them in front of you, bringing your right arm under your left arm. We'll find eagle arms. Point the elbows forward towards the top of the mat. Lift your spine up straight and tall. And just hold. This month, this season, all the way through November 21st or November 22nd, depending on where you are, is the ideal time to investigate your growth's edge. To get to the point where you're facing change or you're facing shift or growth or evolution, and maybe what stops you, we examine. Or why you don't pass that threshold, we examine. It's a little bit scary. There are parts of us that are literally dying to be uncovered. Destruction paves the way for creation. Letting go makes room to bring something new in. So unwind our arms. Inhale your hands up high. Exhale, fold your chest down over your knees. Start to crawl our way back over our knees. We'll uncross our legs and find your tabletop position again. From here, we'll take melting heart. We'll keep our hips stacked on top of the knees, lower the chest, chin, or forehead down to the ground. And allow your heart to be open. We open the heart to remind ourselves that it's okay to be vulnerable. Staring at the edge of your growth takes courage, it takes vulnerability. It takes unconditional love that comes from you to allow your heart to open. Also remind yourself that it's okay to feel. Not everything we feel is comfortable, and that's okay. Being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. And if we stop and examine our discomfort, we can learn a lot about ourselves. And this is the time to do it. This is the time to really get into it, to dive deep into ourselves, to do the healing work. Move your body back up to tabletop. And take your left heel back to the wall behind you. Point your knee over to the left side. Take a couple big circles with your left knee around your hip socket. Change the direction of your circles. Take your heels straight back behind you. Set your toes down to the right side of your mat. Look around your shoulder for your heel. Take your left foot out so it's in line with your right knee. And start to press back into your hips. You can lower onto your forearms. You can move all the way towards a child's pose. And just listen to your body. And move your hips back up. Take your left heel back to the wall behind you. And pull your knee towards your chest. We'll loop our left ankle around, bringing our knees together. Then open your feet wide and press your hips down to the ground between your heels. If it's not, this pose isn't good for your body, then make the adjustment. We'll sit up nice and tall spine. Take your arms out into a T and bring them forward, crossing the left arm under the right arm. Squeeze into center. Point your elbows towards the top of the mat. Bring them feet in line with your shoulders. And squeeze into center. Dive into yourself, who you are at the very core. On your next inhale, release your arms, take them up over your head, and fold your way forward over your legs. To witness the intensity of being where you are without moving to change it, without moving to fix it, without chasing it away or hiding. And just like we take deep breaths and focus on our breathing to better deal with the pose, better accept the pose, use that to better accept where you're at. Deal with the intensity. We don't make it go away. We just settle in. We lift up our legs so we can float right down the street. Start to crawl your way forward over your knees, unwinding your legs and coming back into a tabletop position. Let's take melting heart again, sliding your hands forward, keeping your hips up in the air. Drop your chest down, your chin or your forehead down. Let's move our body up to table. Tuck your toes under, downward facing dog, take your hips up and back. Take a few slow pedals through your feet, shifting your weight from side to side, stretching into one leg at a time. Press into both heels. Lift your right leg up to the ceiling, roll your hip open, bend your knee. And then step your right foot up between your hands. Let's twist. We'll reach our right hand up to the ceiling. Bring your right hand back down to the ground. Step forward, halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, extended mountain pose. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. Take your left toes to the back of your mat. Crescent lunge with right leg forward. Sit down low into your hips, down low into your legs, hug into your core. And don't shy away from your intensity. Let's bring our hands down to our hips. Slowly lower your back knee down to the ground. And then take your left hand up to the ceiling, lean over to the right side. So you're sweeping your left arm over your head. Reach your hands back up to the ceiling. Bring your hands down to the inside of your right foot. Wiggle your right foot off to the edge of your mat for a lizard pose. Scorpio season happens at the same time as eclipse season. The potent energy of this sign can be called upon to manifest fierce transformation. It's a season to dive deep, to do the healing, to investigate, and to probe around, probe deeper. Our intuition is also expanded. We may be able to see and understand things that we weren't able to before. Let's walk the right foot back in between your hands and move your hips back, stretching your right leg out long, dropping your chest down for reverse splits. Slide your hips forward, bending the right knee. Walk your right foot over to the left side of your mat for a half pigeon pose. And drop the hips down and start to release your way forward. Now, if this is too much, you can take reverse pigeon by finding your backside, cross your right ankle over your left knee, and then draw your legs towards your chest. Just practice being okay with what you're feeling. Practice kind of just surrendering to the intensity. That doesn't make us weaker. That gives us the upper hand. If we're not influenced to the point of reacting or doing or shifting every time we get uncomfortable, then we can be the coolest cucumber in the room. We can take calculated actions instead of just riding the big wave of our emotions. Let's walk our hands in, lift your spine up, and then bring your left leg out in front of you. Right foot tucks into the inside of your left thigh. Put your left hand down on your left leg. Take your right arm up and over. And then bring your right hand down under your shoulder. Press your hips up off of the ground. Reach your left hand over your head, lengthening your left side body, big reach. And then lower back to your hips. Take your legs back behind you. Let's meet in downward facing dog. Once you get there, take a couple of pedals. Stretching out your calves, the backs of your legs, your feet. Press down into both heels. Lift your left leg up to the ceiling. Roll your hip open, bend your knee. And then step your left foot up between your hands and twist to the left by reaching your left hand up to the ceiling. Bring your left hand down, so both hands are on the mat. Step your right foot forward. Take a halfway lift. Fold forward. Extended mountain pose. And fold. Halfway lift. Take your right toes back. Crescent lunge with the left foot forward. All 10 toes point to the top of the mat. Go low, work to the edge where you feel like you just can't go anymore. Bring yourself all the way to that point and stare at it in the face. Let's bring our hands down to the inside of our left foot. Drop your right knee and then lift your hands back up to the ceiling. We'll drop our left hand down to the left hip. Lean over to the left. Take your right hand over your head as you stretch your right side body out nice and long. Reach your hands back up to the ceiling and drop them down to the inside of your foot. Wiggle your left foot to the edge of the mat for a lizard pose. Wiggle your left foot back in between your hands and reverse split. Slide your hips back, straighten out your left leg. Drop your chest down towards your left thigh. Bring your hips back towards the top of your mat, bending your knee. Wiggle your left foot over to the side for a half pigeon. Set our hips down to the ground, and then we'll release our way forward. Remember, reverse pigeon is also an option for you. That's better for your body. I used to imagine when I first started yoga and when I first started teaching yoga, that this intense thing that I feel when I'm in half pigeon is just my muscles like wringing out like a dish towel. You know, you wipe up your counters, you wipe up the dishes, and then you wring that towel out, and all that old dirty water and gunk falls out of the rag into the sink. It's a cleansing. And wringing out and getting rid of that stuff that's stuck. Let's walk our hands in, lift your spine up, bring your right leg out in front of you. Tuck your left foot into your right thigh. Drop your right hand down, tip over, reaching your left arm over your head, lengthening your left side body. And then bring your left hand down under your left shoulder. Lift your hips up off of the ground by pressing into your left knee. Take your right arm over your head. Open up your heart. And bring your hips back down to the ground. Bring your feet together in front of you so your knees open to the sides, your feet connect. Let's grab onto your ankles. Inhale the chest up tall. And then exhale, lower your chest forward. Move your spine back up. Put your feet down in front of you so your knees point up. And then lower your body down to the mat. Take your arms into a T and cross your right leg over your left leg. Let your knees fall down to the left and your eyes fall down to the right. On November 19th, there is a lunar eclipse where the sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be in Taurus. And this is a time that we are offered to allow something to die in order for something else to be reborn. So maybe that's a past trauma, maybe it's a past or current relationship, a job, a complex situation that we are given the opportunity to let go of. We're given the opportunity to let it die and to allow something greater to rise from the ashes. So I know that's like a month away. But as the days pass that lead up to it, I invite you to have that in the back of your mind. What is it that you are willing to let go of in order to make space for something new? Let's shift over to the other side. We'll cross our left leg over the right, drop the legs to the right side, and then turn your face to the left. Work your way back to center. Take your legs out long in front of you on the mat. Settle into your final resting pose. So whatever shape, if you have any extra wiggles, any extra stretches that your body's asking for, allow time for that before you settle down. In whatever pose you're in, whatever shape you're in, I invite you to consider withdrawing from the world a little bit over these next 20-something days. I invite you to withdraw from the world so you can reduce the amount of external distractions. This will bring you more present to your inner world, to your experiences. Awesome. if you feel like more time in Shavasana would benefit you, hang out here for as long as you feel you need. Otherwise, let's all take a stretch. We'll inhale the hands over the head. And exhale, soften. Bring your knees in towards your heart. Cross your legs at your ankles. Walk up to a seated position. Cross your legs. And with the breath in, take your hands up high. With the breath out, bring your hands together at your heart. With all my love and all my gratitude, namaste. Okay, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the flow. I hope you enjoyed the stretches. I hope you enjoyed the message. Today and even into tomorrow, the moon is in Gemini. Sun is in Scorpio, so this is a really good time to talk out loud about your these deep dive topics. It's a really good time to talk to your loved ones, to journal, to think it through. With the moon in Gemini, our internal world is just a little bit more communicative. It's a little bit speedier, a little bit more fast. Language and communication is more prevalent. So enjoy. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for joining me.